Welcome to the show. It's the Desert Rat Real Chat with your hosts Beef and Jorge. We're just a couple of dudes from Tucson, Arizona who enjoy watching TV shows and movies and love talking about it afterwards.
If you want to interact with the show, leave a comment below. Quick disclaimer, we're not professionals of the film industry, we just have our 2 cents to share. Today, we are pleased to invite our special guest and friend, Francois from Tucson, Arizona. He likes playing video games, trading card games, and likes watching movies. Francois, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
So, what are we talking about today?
All right, so today's topic is it cinema or is it homework? Now, we love cinematic franchises like Marvel and Star Wars, but it can be a little daunting for the first time viewer to figure out where to begin or how to catch up. So, to start us off, I am a huge fan of Star Wars and Marvel, and both of those have their own cinematic universes. Francois, what kind of cinematic universes are you a really big fan of?
I think as far as like the long running ones go, Marvel has been the one that I've been pretty invested in. DC has been on and off for me. I've loved some of the movies and have been lukewarm about some of the others, but also one that I'm still constantly interested in as films come out. Outside of that, there are some Japanese anime films that I do enjoy as well that aren't quite as long running, but those are kind of like I think the more general series of films that aren't like just standalones.
And with regards to those anime films, is it truly a cinematic universe where it's more than one character or more than one story that all kind of interweaves at different points, or is it just a series of films?
Not really, more just a series of films rather than just separate like individual character films that eventually interweave to some bigger story.
Gotcha. Well, the reason I ask is I actually made a list of movie cinematic franchises, but I think now that I think about it, some of them don't really qualify as a cinematic universe. So, for instance, I had the horror movie films Saw and Final Destination as part of the list, but realistically, it's just a series of films. It's not necessarily a cinematic universe where you might have one movie that pertains to one character, one part of the story that's not, related to the other parts, although they might interweave. So, for instance, the Conjuring universe, you have the main line story, The Conjuring, but then you have things like The Nun or La Llorona, and I'm trying to think, or like Annabelle, right? So those are different parts of that cinematic universe that they work as a story independently on their own, but they also connect back to some sort of common universe. Um, I mean, Beef, what do you think of that characterization of like a cinematic
I
universe?
mean, I guess it really depends on how you define cinematic universe. I think with like Marvel and Star Wars, they've kind of like they call it cinematic universe, but it's probably I would say it's probably a little bit more than just a cinematic universe, right? Like to me, the phrase cinematic universe just means they exist in the same universe. They may or may not interweave, but obviously, like we're seeing with like Marvel and Star Wars, they're making a really great use of like having character crossovers in various shows and whatnots. So example like Ahsoka and Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian, right? They had their individual shows, but then they also have various crossovers here and there, which obviously like we know Star Wars like and just Disney in general likes to do that to try to get a lot of fans to be like, oh, that's like it's cool to see references to other things, even though
Yeah,
those other things might not be necessarily things that you need to know. Like I would say, you don't really need to watch Book of Boba Fett to understand Mandalorian, um,
sure.
that sort of thing.
Actually, that's not true. I'm gonna disagree pretty pretty hard there, and I think that's one of the reasons Mandalorian season three kind of fell flat.
Mm.
Um, if you remember the end of season two, spoiler alert for Mandalorian season one through three plus Book of Boba Fett. Um, at the end of episode or season two, Grogu and Mandalorian split up, and then at the start of Mandalorian season three, they're back together again. And the only explanation is Book of Boba Fett. So if you don't watch Book of Boba Fett, you're kind of left thinking, "Didn't wait? What happened to Luke Skywalker? Luke grabbed Grogu and left, and now Luke's not here, and then Grogu is back. Like, what gives?"
Okay, that
So
is that is true. I will be fully honest here. I watched Book of Boba Fett. Do I remember it? No. Is it one of my least favorite Star Wars shows? Probably. And so that I kind of erased it from my mind. But yeah, so I think you are correct in that like you kind of needed that bridge. But I think there are a lot of crossovers that are not necessarily I would consider them like more Easter eggs, right? As opposed to
Okay.
like it's like cool to see some of the crossovers. Not all of them are necessary. Perhaps some of them are, but they just kind of sprinkle them here and there. But I do think like I'm curious, Francois. So like you mentioned some stuff that you consider to be cinematic universes, right? Like I think sometimes we could consider those to be franchises as well. So for example, like Harry Potter, right? Like you have the mainline Harry Potter films, and then you have the shoot, what's it called? Newt Scamander. What were they
It's
called?
Fantastic Beasts and
Yes.
Where to Find Them.
Yeah, Fantastic Beasts,
Fantastic
right? Which
Beasts.
are,
Yeah.
it takes place, what, like 60 years in the past or something like that. Similar, Avatar The Last Airbender, right? You have Avatar The Last Airbender, and then you have Korra, which is, takes place 60 years in the future. So using the same basis of the universe, but not, there's perhaps some Easter eggs here and there, but not direct crossover like we see with like Marvel movies and some of the Star Wars movies now.
Yep. I think more specifically, most of those are franchises.
Mhm.
And then the one that I can think of that could be sort of its own universe are the three most recent Makoto Shinkai films, Your Name, Weathering with You, and Suzume.
Mhm.
Because I think there is some overlap between those,
Oh, really?
just as if you pay small attention. But it's not very overt though. Like I'm pretty sure some of the characters overlap with each other. Like you can see, I'm pretty sure in Suzume I saw somebody from Weather with You in there, but it could just be me being crazy. I just have to rewatch the movie again. But I do think they're technically sort of like in a similar universe to each other, or if not like the same setting.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I watched those three movies. It hadn't even occurred to me that there was any sort of overlap. I mean, they all take place
So
in
I
like
just
Japan. So,
I just want to take a moment to interject because what is the name of the film series or universe here that we're talking about?
The director's name is Makoto Shinkai. He's directed a lot of movies, but his most three recent movies, not really like the name of a franchise, they all have their own separate names.
Hmm.
But I do think that there's some Easter eggs in each one of them that you can see characters that have crossed over from like a
Well,
previous
so
movie.
the reason I stopped to ask is because I don't recognize that director or that series of films at all. And so I think this might be a perfect time to segue into one of my questions, which is it sounds like B, if you're familiar with this material.
I mean, I watched the movies. If you quiz me on what happened exactly in the movies, I would probably not be able to answer
Okay,
correctly.
but I think it's safe to say Francois is an expert in these movies. Beef, you're kind of sort of familiar, and then I have no idea what you're talking about. So the question is, um, when you're introducing someone new to the franchise, how do you pick where to start them? Is it based off of theater release order? Is it based off of story chronology order? Do you pick some other way? Are you a completionist, meaning do you watch absolutely everything even if it sucks? Or do you pick and choose, maybe like, hey, you could probably skip this one. It's not as relevant to the story. It was really poorly written or executed. Like, I mean, introduce me to this franchise. I've never heard about it. I've never heard of this director. What would you tell me?
This might actually be a bad example.
So this probably would be a
Why?
very bad example for like cinematic universes. I think they're very niche. But to that point, there probably are some people who haven't watched these type of animated movies that watched one of these for the first time and really loved it. So
Okay.
when you introduce somebody to either a franchise, a series of movies, or even like a favorite director or show, I think it honestly depends where I start them. Really depends on the person and depends on the series. With like Marvel and Star Wars, there's kind of like a chronological order. Marvel, I think less so. You can kind of start people with a certain character. Marvel's a series where I would tell someone if you have a type of genre that you really like, whether you like more action, a little bit more comedy, a little bit more of a nuanced story, or certain things like that, I'd find a movie where I think if there's a character that they really like, say maybe like Loki or Thor or Iron Man, something like that. Start with one of those
Mhm.
characters' movies so that they get invested. They really enjoy the character. They really enjoy the series. and then that broadens the aspect to them to get into the rest of the movies. So they get a character that
Gotcha.
like they get invested in them, and then eventually that leads them to get invested into the story if they can. With Star
I,
Wars, I think it's a little harder, but it also
okay.
depends
So
on where you want to start.
what would you do?
Um, I used to love just to tell people to start with episode 4, which is like the chronological beginning. Um, but
Well, no, no.
nowadays,
Chronological beginning would be a TV
that's right.
show
That'd be
Acolyte or
TV
episode
show
one. Yeah. So I think you're referring to theater release order.
theater release order. Just because
Okay.
I used to think like these are like the oldest films. If they want to like go from like where they started, then they should start from here. But
Yeah.
I think nowadays I probably lean towards the find a sect of Star Wars media that they can get into, whether
Yeah.
it's the prequel trilogy, whether it's the original trilogy, and see what they jive with and go with that. For the animated films, I think it really depends on like genre and what type of movies you like. Because if someone told me that they didn't like romance stories or high like fantastical stories or things like that, I probably would never recommend to watch any of the movies that I just mentioned earlier. Because they are all three of them are romance stories. They all have an element of just supernatural to them, and I think that if people aren't really into that, then it's probably a no go to recommend. But if you do like those types of movies in general, I would tell you any one of the three, depending on what you look for in a movie, and then it's all good. But that's also why I think it's a bad example to get into a franchise because it's more of just getting them into like the medium and the director more than getting them
Mhm.
into like a full series of movies.
Yeah. Well, I've had some experience with this, particularly with Anna. She had not really consumed any Star Wars media. I mean, she kind of knows some of the more culturally, universal characters like Darth Vader. She probably recognize who that is, but not really know, the significance of that character or what he has to do with the story. So when she and I started living together, I think it was Mandalorian that was first being released on Disney Plus. And so I told her, I was like, hey, like this show is really important to me. It's the first Star Wars TV show um, since the Disney takeover. I think that's a true statement. I think that was the first Star Wars TV show that came out on Disney Plus. Um, and so I told her, it's like, I'd really like to see the premiere of every episode as it comes out. And she ended up watching it with me and totally fell in love with Mandalorian, fell in love with Grogu. To this day, she says it's probably one of her favorite TV shows in the Star Wars universe. And basically, what I was able to do is use that as a jumping point to say, hey, I'd love to show you some more, right? So from there, I think I tried to show her the prequel trilogy, episodes one, two, and three. She did like that. But I think the fact that the original trilogy was filmed in the 70s and the CGI just wasn't that great, the production quality, you know, compared to now is not that great.
Mhm.
She really didn't get into it. And it's too bad because I really grew up loving the original trilogy, and without that we would not have the prequel trilogy or a lot of this other Star Wars material. But it was a different time. What was considered action packed and a great story back then is different than what it is now.
Yeah,
But that being said, she's really loved the Bad Batch.
mm,
Um, and she's really liked some of the other Star Wars TV shows. Go ahead, Beef.
I mean, I think like I understand your feelings and I understand Anna's feelings. Like I can't fault her for. I do still think 4, 5, 6. Still, I think the writing still holds up today, right? But I could understand where someone's like, oh, like the CGI isn't just what I would normally expect out of like a production today, and that's fair, right? Maybe eventually, maybe eventually they recreate 4, 5, 6. Probably going to be really difficult. Like it's so legendary and ingrained that it probably won't be touched for a while, I would say. But especially I do think having Mandalorian be your first thing into the Star Wars universe does set the bar pretty high, I would say. Like Mandalorian season
Hmm.
1 and 2, amazing. Like really, really good. Pedro Pascal, Grogu, like such good writing, right? Like
Yeah.
it does set the bar pretty high for getting into the
But
Star Wars
so
franchise.
yeah, I mean, and Mandalorian season 1 and 2, I would say, could be totally independent of the mainline Skywalker saga.
Hmm.
Um, and it's totally enjoyable. I think it's a really great story. It's really compelling. The problem with the direction that Disney took was they released Mandalorian, which is uh, post episode 6 and pre episode 7, right? S- And then they released Andor, which is pre original trilogy, but post prequel trilogy. So then if you go from watching Mandalorian to Andor as a brand new viewer, you're really, really confused. You know, you're like it's hard for me to explain to Anna what the significance is of Andor fighting the Empire, you know. And then from there, they went to I think like Ahsoka, which now you're going back to Mandalorian. And then you have Clone Wars the final season, right? So now you're going back and then you do Bad Batch, so there's so much back and forth in all the TV shows that they're doing that for a new viewer, if you don't have somebody to guide you through it, it could be really, really confusing. Especially if the point of reference is always BBY,
Hmm.
right? How many years before BBY or how many years after? But if you don't watch the original trilogy, then that has no, significance for you. So I love the Star Wars universe. It makes it, but the way they do it makes it really hard to get somebody into it and try to get them to watch everything and understand everything. Um, yeah, I particularly like a show like Ahsoka makes no sense whatsoever unless you've seen the other cartoons like Clone Wars and Rebels.
Hmm.
I actually haven't even seen Rebels, so part of Ahsoka is really hard for me to understand because honestly Ahsoka has been nicknamed the next season of Rebels,
Yeah.
and so I think they've not done a good job with isolating each story arc and making it its own. I think the shining example for me is Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2 and Andor, right? Not necessarily in the way they released it, and really trying to keep the timelines tidy, but each season or each series does a really good job of just engaging the viewer without really caring of the main storyline.
Yeah, so basically just things that you could tell someone, "Hey, watch this. You don't need to know anything about Star Wars," and it would be good.
Yeah, yeah. I think Andor is like the gateway drug.
Hmm.
Yeah. That being said, like I want to go back a little bit to what Francois was saying about picking a character or maybe like a certain storyline that you think might appeal to someone. I think that's a really good way of going about it. That being said, I think it's the more common approach is either to do theater release or chronological. But I wanted to propose a couple of like sticking points to you guys, and I'm kind of curious to see what your guys' thoughts are. So, number one, if you go in chronological order, then when you get to the original trilogy, you already know of Luke and Leia's relationship, and so it gets kind of awkward when they get kind of romancy with each other because you know that they're related, right?
Hmm.
So, and I do think that that's kind of a big reveal in episode 6 where Luke is trying to figure out if he's the only hope for the Jedi. Turns out there's another Skywalker. So, that's a reveal that happens in episode 6 that's pretty significant from that point of view. The next thing would be the fact that Vader is Anakin, right? So you don't know that until the end of episode 5. But if you watch in chronological order, then you already know that, and that steals the thunder of no, I am your father. Like that was such a jaw-dropping moment when you're watching that for the first time, where you're like, wow, Darth Vader is Luke's father. And if you watch in chronological order, then that kind of goes away. The other thing is maybe something a little bit smaller, and that would be um, the buildup in the original trilogy to seeing the Emperor. Right, he's not at all in episode 4. He's briefly seen in episode 5. But the fact that you have this big villain, Darth Vader, who bows to the Emperor, there's a lot of anticipation into seeing him in episode 6. And I feel like maybe that's a little bit lost if you've already seen the prequel trilogy, as well as it's kind of weird seeing how weak the Emperor is in episode 6 compared to episode 3, Emperor fighting Yoda. So, with all that being said, those are some of the kind of issues if you do chronological versus theatrical. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just curious, like, what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I do think it does become an issue for some people, like you said, because there's a lot of impact to a lot of the scenes that you mentioned. Because if you already know what's going to happen beforehand, you lose a lot of the momentum and a lot of the reasons why those moments are so impactful in the series. But um, to something that you mentioned earlier with Anna not really enjoying the prequel trilogy or the original trilogy as much, I think it ultimately will end up depending on the person because like I see it being a problem, but at the same time, depending on who I'm trying to introduce these franchises to, if they're not driving with the original movies as much, then I think it's okay to kind of move towards other stories that they may be enjoying more, rather
Yeah.
than just going through it. I'm also the type that like even if I don't enjoy every movie or everything in one single franchise, I'll watch it no matter how bad it might be, just for completionist sake.
Yeah.
Less so now, just because there's so much stuff. There's too many things, too many shows, too many movies to capture all at once. You need all these subscriptions and all this other stuff. But for the most part, like I would try to do that. But especially you mentioned like a lot of these, they're so big now, they're kind of daunting to where do I start? What do I do? So I think like figuring out the person that you're trying to introduce these to, where their preferences are, is always a good
Yeah.
thing because even if it's a little or out of order, even if they're missing a few things, I think ultimately them enjoying the media is more important to me than keeping that sect.
That's a really good point because if they don't buy into it, they're not gonna want to stay in it. So I that's true. Beef, what do you think? I mean, there's certain story points that only make sense if you watch it in theatrical release, but maybe following the storyline in chronological order is easier. Like,
Mhm.
so what do you think?
So I can't think of any other, I'll say, like movie franchise that has this issue except for Star Wars, just because Star Wars has so many movies. But I do think what the writers had intended, and they were probably smart to do this, is they kind of split the difference here, right? So I do think that no matter what order you watch in, whether you go 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, I feel like there's a little bit of stuff for everyone, and I still feel
Hmm.
like you would still, or at least I don't know, me personally, I feel like I would have enjoyed it either way it was introduced to me. Who knows
Okay.
if that's actually the truth because I watched it 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2, 3, and I enjoyed it. But I still think if I watched it the other way around, I still feel like a lot of the surprises like that you mentioned, like what was it? Even Mark Hamill didn't know that Vader was his father, right? Like they was George Lucas like lied to him until the very scene, and then he told him right before, right? And then what was it? He like
Yeah.
his reaction was his true reaction to
Yeah.
hearing that because he didn't even know, right? And obviously that's like lost if you watch 1, 2, 3 first. But I do still think it's still certainly enjoyable. But I mean I guess if you want to be a purist, it would be 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2, 3 would be the ordering.
Well, just to be clear though, I think Marvel has a very similar issue. So you have theatrical release and chronological release,
Hmm.
and the proof is Disney recognizes this. On Disney Plus, if you go to the Marvel tab, they have two rows. One that says uh MCU by phase. So you have
Hmm.
phases 1 through 5, I think is what we just finished up now. We're headed to phase 6. And then below that, you have the MCU in chronological order. So actually, one of the movies in Phase 3, Captain Marvel, would be the very. Oh, I'm sorry, not that one. Captain America 1 would be the first movie to watch. So that's the last, the second to last movie in Phase 1 goes first because that's in the 1940s. And then you go Captain Marvel, which is one of the last movies of Phase 3. So you're getting, you're actually reordering the movies in a significant way. Um, if you do it that way. And then it only gets more complicated once you actually get past phase 3, because phase 4 is like a gaggle of all sorts of different timelines and all that. Um, so you know, I try to stick to the theater release for most things because the writers of each story are working with a certain set of knowledge. So, for
Mhm.
instance, the writer of episode 4, New Hope, they had nothing to go off of. Everything is new. Everything is exposition. Everything is either assumed or left in ambiguity. And then episode 5 is building off of that knowledge, right? Episode 6 builds off of that. So obviously, going into the prequel trilogy, the whole point of the prequel trilogy is to figure out how did Anakin become Darth Vader, right? Or where did the Jedi come from? Or right, there's so many questions that we want to know, how did that come to be so that episode 4 makes sense? Well, the writers are taking all of that into consideration. Even the music, right? By the time we get to the prequel trilogy, Yoda has his own theme song. Vader has his own theme song. You have the Imperial March, right? So when you hear those tones in the prequel trilogy, that's a little bit of foreshadowing that doesn't really make sense if you don't have the knowledge of the prequel trilogy. That being said, what sucks about it is that because there's so much time that in between those, you literally have to ask somebody, "Hey, I'm going to show you a movie from like almost 5 decades ago, and I hope you enjoy it the same way you would a brand new and shiny movie," right? And that's the attractive thing about the sequel trilogy is that it is gorgeous to watch. I mean, these movies are beautiful in terms of their CGI.
Yeah, I would say to me it feels like Star Wars versus Marvel in terms of ordering. And perhaps I'm wrong about this, right? I think Jorge, you remember a lot more of the interweave details between the movies, but to me it feels less like it feels like watching the Marvel movies in theatrical release order just seems to make a lot more sense in general. I mean, I guess like they're all pretty much like filmed within the last 20 years, right? And so they all
Right.
have a very more or less a much more similar feel. You know, maybe the first Iron Man, which was what was it, like 2008 or something like that. Maybe the CGI
2008,
is
yeah.
not as good, but the CGI in 2008 to 2025 now is definitely not what was it, like 1960 to 2025 in Star Wars
Yeah.
terms, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that has a big part of it because some people, they can watch a movie with very low production quality and just enjoy the story.
Mm-hmm.
Some people can't. Some people can't separate those two things in their heads, and that's not necessarily a bad thing or a critique on them. It's just when you create a movie, you have to know your audience,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and if you're watching a relatively historical movie, then you kind of have to give them that creative license of, hey, listen, like this is not going to be as realistic as some of the movies you see nowadays, but the point of it is the story. So, real quick, I just want to put this in there. If I was starting someone new on Star Wars, I think what I would do is have them start with Andor, Rogue One, and then the original trilogy. Because I think Andor is so new, so they kind of get that shiny look to it, right? Where everything's beautiful and gorgeous, but it gets them into the story. Rogue One kind of cements the story into the mainline Skywalker saga. And then at that point, you can say, hey, listen, I'd love to show you episode 4, which is the continuation of Rogue One. Just keep in mind, this is an old movie, but this is the base, the foundation of Star Wars is the original trilogy. After that, I'm kind of torn between just keeping it going into the sequel trilogies or saying, hey, listen, now that you've learned about this like core set of characters, Leia, Luke, and Darth Vader and Palpatine, I'd love to show you their origin and then take them back to the prequel. So I'm kind of split between just keeping going into the sequel and going back to the prequel. So two questions: do you like that approach as an introduction? And two, option A, option B. Do you continue going to the sequel or do you go back to the prequels? What do you guys think?
I think I like those options, to be honest, because at least with Andor, you have like the most one of the most recent like shiny new things, like you said. Rogue One also lies within that, not as shiny, not as new, but it's also more relatively recent than the original trilogy. Plus, I think they're probably, in my opinion, probably the highest quality Star Wars like shows and movies that we've gotten throughout the whole franchise. So it sets a strong tone for someone to be able to
Mhm.
get invested into the universe. And then
Yeah.
from there, you kind of have a lot of options on where you want to branch off.
Yeah, it is a delicate balancing act, right? Because I do think Andor and Rogue One, again, I've told Jorge this many times, those are my favorite things in the. Besides Ahsoka and Clone Wars and Rebels, like I really like those. But going back to what Francois said before, I think like I love the ordering that Jorge gave, and I think normally that would be the ordering I would give. But taking in mind what Francois said before about how we really need to cater it to the person, right? And so for someone to get into a franchise, it might be difficult to be like, hey, I have what is it, 10 episodes that are like 40 minutes long each. It might feel like a lot to them. And so perhaps instead of Andor, I I might be like, hey, let's watch Rogue One because it's a single movie. It's really easy,
Yeah.
right? So they're not like, oh, I don't want to like
That's true.
invest like 10 hours of my time to try to get into this because Andor's a whole seasons, right? And so I think it just depends on, do you prefer does the person prefer watching shows? Do they prefer watching movies? Like what really sucks them in? And then also the medium's pretty important too, right? Because again, I know Jorge, you're not as much into the animated stuff, so like Clone Wars and Rebels, but I think those are some of the most well written, but also such a time commitment to watch those. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like so many hours, right? And so that's why even on Disney Plus, I think Jorge, do they still have this where they're like these are the essential episodes from
Yes.
like Clone Wars and Rebels,
Yeah.
right? It's like 5 episodes, right? Because no
Yeah.
one's gonna spend.
And
It's so hard.
yeah, and I think Disney realizes that they needed to do that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I feel like they probably could have used some, outside consulting in picking some better episodes.
Mm.
When I looked over the list of Clone Wars, because I have seen Clone Wars, I felt like they missed a couple of like really big ones.
Mm.
I don't remember them doing I think it's like a 3 episode arc where they go into like the alternate dimension with like the father, the daughter, and the son,
Yeah.
which is like the different sides of the force.
Hmm.
And I feel like, if you're trying to do world building, that's a really big one. Like I'd love to see them do just a series or just a movie on the like better explanation of the Force, or maybe like Darth Bane and the Rule of Two, or maybe do a series on Master Sifo Dyas and the creation of the Clone Army. You know, those are very interesting stories that could be expanded on. So I'm glad that they kind of cherry picked some more important of parts of the story, but I think they could continue to do that, or expand on that.
I think for Clone Wars and Rebels, it was really hard to do because we got to remember those were heavily influenced and written by Dave Filoni, and I think Dave Filoni's his real talent is in these really long shows that give you really good character development, right? I
I
feel
agree.
like I mean he's a
Bad
good.
Batch is a
Yeah,
great.
amazing. Love Bad
Yeah.
Batch, right? Like he's a good writer and he can write good movies. But I think so. For Francois' context, like he also is the writer for Zuko in Avatar: The Last Airbender, and so he's really good at writing these really long character arcs that really make you fall in love with the character. And watching just the essential episodes from Rebels or Clone Wars, you miss a lot of the extra context around Ahsoka's rise and whatnots, which is unfortunate, but I can understand it's so hard to like watch like what is it, like 60 or 70 episodes.
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing. Like, if you're trying to introduce somebody to this material, they're not going to fall in love with the characters in the story the same way that you and I did by only watching these essential episodes.
Hmm.
So I think it's one of those things where you show them, like, I agree with you. Forget Andor, just do Rogue One, right? Just get them in, and if they ask you a question like, "Well, where did Andor come from?" Like, "Well, let me show you. There's 2 seasons." Like, Now they have a reason to watch it because they've grown to love Andor through the course of Rogue One. Now they're willing to watch the TV series about him. So maybe if you do something similar with like Ahsoka's a little bit tough because that I guess you have to fall in love with her in Mandalorian and then say, hey, she's got this whole backstory in these like 7 seasons, or maybe at that point you say, hey, look, there's these very important episodes that Disney highlights for you. Maybe watch those, and if you like them, then go back and watch the entire series.
Hmm.
Yeah, because actually, when you think about it, it's not even just the 7 seasons. You also have the Clone Wars movie, which is an animated movie, and that movie is rough. At like as an adult trying to watch that movie, which is designed for kids, it is hard to watch that movie. I don't think it's that great of a story. And then as an adult, it also doesn't make sense why Anakin has a Padawan when that's never mentioned in episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, So it's really confusing, but once you get through that and then into the Clone Wars TV series, then it kind of like gives you really good story arcs, like there's a few things in there that are really really cool, and it's just too bad that it's buried in a kids show that's 7 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Star Wars
Yeah.
and both Star Wars and Marvel kind of fall under a really complicated area because there's so much content, like way more than anybody could ever like finish in probably even 1 year. Because Star
Yeah.
Wars not only has like all these TV shows, there's comic books, there's novels, there's so many things. Like even the video games have their own connected stories where eventually
Hmm.
I believe some of those characters could probably cross over into shows or movies, things like that. So there's just so many things that there. And then
What's the
Marvel
name of
being
the
based
guy
off
from
of
Jedi Survivor?
Cal Kestis.
Cal Kestis. That would be a cool character to bring into live action. Um, but you're right, and I think if, going back to the title of the episode, is it cinema or is it homework? I think once you've grown large enough, it does become homework. And so I'd like to kind of look back at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is now going into its 6th phase across 2 sagas, each saga being 3 phases. I think right now it is homework. And I think what they should have done, and obviously hindsight's 2020, it's really easy to armchair quarterback this in hindsight. You really do need to reset the story or make a clean break in the story at the end of the saga, because I do think that the first saga, which is the Infinity Saga, did a really good job. I think that's a really great, compelling story overall. There's a lot of places you can just kind of start into and kind of pick up the story from there. So, for instance, maybe like your friend would really like Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, get them started to Guardians of the Galaxy and start watching from there. I think it works out, you know. Um, but to watch Phase 4 and have that kind of make sense, you do need to understand phases 1 through 3. And I think that's where the mistake happened. I think they should have taken an opportunity to say, okay, we finished the Infinity Saga. Let's start up with whole new story arcs that don't call back to the first saga. So, for instance, I think the big one is the first Marvel TV show they came out with was WandaVision. WandaVision is all about Wanda having lost Vision at the end of Phase 3. It's all about her trying to deal with her grief. Okay, well, if now you have to go back and watch Infinity War and Endgame, but if you didn't watch the prior movies to that, then you're kind of lost
Hmm.
because Infinity War and Endgame, you do need some of that context. So now you're trying to explain to someone what all this means as they're watching WandaVision for the first time. It's not a good place to introduce someone into Marvel.
Yeah.
Loki, the whole premise of Loki is that they were a divergent timeline off of the first saga of the MCU. So like that also doesn't work as a starting off point because now you're trying to explain to them like timelines and the multiverse, and it doesn't work, you know? So when I look at Phase 4, what could have worked is Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi is a great place to start a brand new saga of the MCU. Why? Because it's a brand new character. There's no backstory required. They do have that bit with Ben Kingsley calling
At the
back
end.
to Iron Man 3. But to be honest, it's funny on its own. You don't need the backstory from Iron Man 3, right? You don't need to know that he was the what do they call him? The
The
terrorist
Mandarin.
guy? The Mandarin. Yeah, you don't need to know that he was a Mandarin. Like, who cares? And because they go from San Francisco into that portal dimension, right? I think it's called Talo. Like, okay, now you have the multiverse. That's it. That's all you need. Now build on that. But they didn't. They had to keep going back to the original uh saga. Like even the Eternals harken back to, oh, like where were you when Thanos and where were you with the Avengers? Like stop it. Just make a new story. That
Mhm.
way I could introduce a friend into the Infinity Saga, or I could introduce them into the Multiverse Saga, and either one makes sense to them. I I rant. That's my rant. Sorry, you guys. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
So Shang-Chi was not the first one I thought of. Shang-Chi does have at the end scene, right? They have they have Wong from Doctor Strange, and then they have Captain Marvel in
Captain
at the
Marvel
very end of that one, right?
and the Hulk.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's right. The first one I thought of when you were mentioning that off the top of my head, and maybe I'm wrong about this, maybe there's more tie-ins, but I was thinking of Moon Knight. I thought Moon Knight would have been great.
Moon Knight would, yes, it would have been great
Yep, that would
because
work too.
that also revolves around the multiverse, right? You have the real world, and then you have the afterlife. I can't remember what they called it, but it's basically like the afterlife dimension,
Hmm.
right? Perfect. You don't need to go back to the Infinity Saga. That being said, I just want to comment on what you said about the post-credit scene of Chang-Chi. That post-credit scene should just not have existed at all. Like, don't do that. That
Yeah.
ruined the movie. Well, it didn't ruin the movie, but it certainly ruined the understanding of the story.
Uh-huh.
So, all right. So, what else, Beef? What else is on your mind?
Well, just when we're talking about reboots, right? Francois is really into comics. We mentioned before. I think Francois is probably aware of what is the DC reboot they did? The New 52. They did that maybe like 15 years ago
Yes,
when
the New 52,
they were
15
like,
years
oh,
ago.
we have too many stories. Like DC has how many comics do they have, Francois? Like how many heroes do they have? Like they so many, right? And they try to
More than you can
intertwine
count.
them.
Like,
They
yeah,
do a lot of like intertwining between all the characters, right? And so the New 52 was essentially an era of I think there was like a leadership change at DC or something like that, and they were like, okay, we need to reboot because people are getting lost in the sauce in our stories. So they did a whole universe reboot, and everyone just started scratch, right? Like everyone started anew. It was all new. Everyone was separate, and I think it actually worked out really well for them, at least for from the comic book
That's just the
standpoint.
comics, right?
Yeah, just the DC comics. I
yes,
don't
just
know. Did
comics.
it
What
affect? It didn't
when did that
affect
happen more or less? What year?
2009, Francois? I
Oh, so
forget.
it's been a minute.
I don't remember. I'm really shaky on the exact year, but it was probably like mid to late 2000s when the
Yeah.
New 52 first
Okay.
started running.
Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
but what you're mentioning, Jorge, is essentially what happened with DC. Is this sort of clean slate approach?
But okay, so I just want to be clear. I'm not saying reboot the universe.
Hmm.
I'm just saying make it so that each saga has its own story
Hmm.
where you don't need to know the previous saga to enjoy it. And this is where Easter eggs come in. Not key character development moments,
Hmm.
just Easter eggs, right? You can maybe have like for instance the TV show Miss Marvel, right? I think she's in New York. Okay, we'll have a scene where she happens to walk by Avengers Tower. That's just an Easter egg. It's not relevant to her character development. It's not
Yeah.
critical to understanding her story. But you're like, oh my God, there's Avengers Tower, and you can see the little concrete like chipped out of it from when the aliens invaded. Like, oh my gosh, like that would be cool, right? You can do that, but don't make it where you can't understand the story or the characters without knowing what came before. I think that's where it becomes homework and not cinema.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think that's pretty true. They got a little bit too carried away with trying to tie everything back into like the first 20 or so movies. They probably just really needed to move on because a lot of how they've been trying to do this, and I think another part of their problem is just that they expanded too far. They got a little bit too ambitious with what they were doing. Too many TV shows, too many characters, too much stuff you need to follow.
Yeah.
So they tried to do a lot of passing of the torches. And I think in Endgame, it was handled really well where they had Chris Evans as Captain America finally hand off the shield to Sam. And that's a perfect passing of the torch. Like you do it in the movie, it's self contained, and people know he is going to be Captain America. But then you introduce a lot of all these other shows. Hawkeye, with Hawkeye and Kate Bishop being um, a whole thing where part of it is they might try having him pass the torch to her or having her be like kind of like a young Avengers, or I think they actually did try to do the young Avengers for a little while, but it's just introducing way too many characters with way too many things for people to follow. And
I
more,
I
go ahead.
I don't think I mean, I agree with you that they're trying to introduce too much all at once. That is true. But I think really the key point or the key mistake is that they're doing a lot of these introductions in TV series. And I think you guys have both either said it directly or indirectly. TV shows is a difficult place to introduce someone because it's a time commitment. You have to commit to those many, many hours of viewing to understand that character. So realistically, if someone is going to be a key character, they need to be introduced in a movie. And it doesn't necessarily have to be their movie. It just like for instance, Sam Wilson as the Falcon has been introduced in Captain America. Like he's not had his own movie. And technically the Falcon has never had his own movie because by the time Sam Wilson became Captain America, well now his titular movie is a Captain America movie, not a Falcon movie. Um, so I think the rule of thumb for TV shows should be TV shows are a way to expand the story, not create critical turning points for the mainline universe. You know, I think TV shows are where you expand upon certain ideas, right? Um, I think like for instance, What If is a really great series where it's not part of the mainline story. It's just giving you an alternate view of what would happen if a decision was made slightly differently. I think that's a really great way to do it. Uh, Moon Knight is introduced in a TV show, but he hasn't been a critical character in any of the other movies. So it's, if you watch just the movies and not Moon Knight, you're not missing out on anything. Eventually I'd love to see Moon Knight in a movie, but they'll have to do some exposition to really explain who he is and what he's about. And I think maybe that's where they'll be kind of kicking themselves in the butt because then they'll have to rehash a lot of the stuff they already covered in the TV show.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with those points. I will play a little bit of devil's advocate here in that I do think that like Marvel had a choice to either have all these tie-ins or not, right? And I could understand where they're like, "Oh, we want to have these tie-ins because there is like you're basically gambling on do we keep our current like really strong fan base at risk of alienating new people to the franchise? Or do we lean this other way where like we make it such that new people to the franchise don't feel so confused that they're missing a lot of information, right? And a key thing is I do think that the medium is also pretty influenced here, right? Because you have this idea of star power, basically, right? So like obviously Robert Downey Jr., right? Like you wanted him in a lot of these movies because he brings that star power with him, and
Yeah.
so him being, I mean, well, they're doing this weird thing with like Doctor Doom now, right, and whatnots, but like you want him to be in movies because that already brings such a strong audience. At least like back when Iron Man was coming out and they were starting to do this intertwining, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot easier to sort of not have to bring that star power with you when you're doing obviously like animated, right? Because animated you can do time skips, right, and whatnots. So yeah, I mean, you want to see these previous stars in the movie, and probably Disney wants to keep them on in these movies for some sort of star power, right? But yeah.
Yeah. I know you're playing devil's advocate, but I think my frustration is it's too much of a good thing, right? I think
Mm,
the excitement of the original MCU saga is that your tie-ins were only in the post-credit scenes. So you're it leaves you wanting more and anticipating that next big thing. And then each phase had the end of the phase was of an Avengers movie. So you got to see a lot of individual stories, and you might see a little bit of crossover, but then Avengers is where everybody comes together and you're like, okay, here we go. We get to like dump all the toys onto the ground and play with all of them all at once. But the key part is the individual stories allow you to have some breathing room. To just say, okay, let's take a break from the big set pieces. Let's focus on different like movies and stories. So I know you're playing devil's advocate, but I think Disney saw the dollar signs on all the Avengers movies and wanted to make those same dollar signs on every movie.
mhm.
But the star power also comes with the cost. I say reduce the budget, eliminate some of the star power, focus on a good character driven storyline, and build new star power.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. That star power only works so many times, right? And it's starting to wear people thin.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so do you guys have any more thoughts on cinema versus homework? If not, I've got a little bit of a game for you guys to play.
I think it's game time.
Not really for me. I think it's game time.
Okay. All right. So let's start the game. And this is going to be a test of your knowledge in the MCU.
Oh God.
Okay. And this is called Where Have I Seen Them Before? Okay.
All right.
So I'm going to give you the name of a character, for instance, Spider-Man, and you need to state the name of the actor or actors that have portrayed this character, right? So, for instance, if I said Spider-Man, you could say Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland.
Mhm.
You can say anybody that's played that character. So, for instance, Miles Morales would count as a Spider-Man. So, whoever plays Miles Morales, you could list that. So that's 2 points for every actor you name. That's 2 points. Then you have to list the MCU appearances as many as possible, and you get 1 point for each. But you get 3 points if you could correctly identify the first MCU appearance. So this includes mid-credit scenes and post-credit scenes.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we do we have do we have what is it called? Like do we have scoping here? Like what by MCU are you referring to Iron Man 1 and forward, or the original Mark
Yes,
Ruffalo
Iron Man.
Hulk and forward, or the original Daredevil
No,
and
no.
forward?
So Iron Man 1 onward
Okay.
is your MCU.
All right.
Okay.
So phase 1.
That being said, this is just movies and TV shows, not comics.
Okay.
Okay. And
Gotcha.
I can be a little bit flexible, so I have the answers as I know them. I did quite a bit of research, so there's a lot of stuff that even I didn't know. So, Beef, I know you think I'm like this all-knowing Marvel nerd, but there's a few of these where I was like, huh, I had to look it up.
You are the Oracle.
But if you could provide me a convincing argument, I will give you a point. Okay. The other thing is, okay, so let's just recap. You get 2 points for the names of the actor or actors. Okay, so 2 points for
For each
each.
one. Okay.
You get 3 points if you correctly identify the first MCU appearance. So you have to say, like, for instance, Spider-Man. Um, you if you don't know the proper title, you could say Spider-Man 1 by Sam Raimi or with Andrew Garfield. That is the first appearance. So you said the movie and you identified it as the first appearance. Okay, so that's just an
Theatrical,
example.
not chronological.
Um.
Like
Oh,
release
damn. Well,
release appearance, right?
okay. Hey, you know what? If you can make the argument, I'll give you the point. Okay.
Okay.
And then you get 1 point for every movie or TV show that you list. Okay. But If you incorrectly list a movie or TV show, you get -1 point.
Okay.
Okay. So that being said, to try to make this a little bit fair, um, if there's a pause or like you start thinking about something, I'm going to stop you, and then your competitor gets to take over from there.
Okay.
Okay, and it'll keep going back and forth until everyone's like, I can't think of anything else. Okay.
Okay. I have two
Also,
questions.
just to keep things fresh,
Uh-huh.
each character will also have a bonus question. Okay, and that's worth I didn't say how many points. Let's say it's worth 2 points.
All right. I have 3 questions now.
Okay, what's up?
You said for each name we get 2 points. Is it 1 point if we can only get the first name or the last name?
Oh no. I'm sorry. Just the actor.
So like
So for instance,
okay.
like if you don't know the full name of like Toby Maguire, you could just say Toby or
And
Maguire,
how
and
many
that counts because
Oh, okay.
that would be 2 points.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So for
Okay.
instance, if I said Spider-Man and you said Tom, Toby, and Andrew, that's a total of 6 points.
Okay. Second question.
Okay. Okay.
We
Second
are
question. Go.
including the entirety of the movies as in like end credit scenes, like post credit scenes.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so mid credit scene, post credit scenes count, and that is part of the answer. Yes.
Okay. And then
Okay.
third question, the bonus question for each one, is that gonna come after we do our this situation here, like with the
No. So for each character, we'll compete, and then we'll do the bonus
Okay,
question for
that
each
makes
character.
sense. All right.
Yeah.
No more questions
Okay.
from me.
So real quick, that being said, Beef, how confident do you feel? And Francois, how confident do you feel?
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very confident, I would say
Yeah.
4.
Okay.
I'm probably like
Francois,
a
how about
5.
you?
All right,
Five.
Francois a
Probably like a
Oh,
5.
5.
really? 5?
Yeah.
He's gonna win.
Okay. Okay. Well, I guess we'll see. Okay. So I have the buzzer up and ready. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So I'm gonna say the character name, and then whoever buzzes in first, you can start off wherever you like. You can do the actor, you can do the first appearance, you can do movies, whatever you want. Okay. All right. First character is Loki. All right, Beef, you buzzed in first.
Okay, his
So
first.
where would you like to start?
Tom Hiddleston.
Okay, so that's 2 points.
I think that's the only actor. His first
Nope, that's not
appearance.
true.
Oh, okay.
That's
Well.
not true. But that I'll give Francois an opportunity to
Oh,
steal
okay.
afterwards. Okay,
Okay.
so
Okay.
so Beef, what's his first appearance? Go ahead.
I believe it would be the first Thor. Would be my guess.
That is correct. So that you now have 5 points.
Okay. And then I need to name all his other appearances. So he was probably in the second Thor. He was definitely
Okay.
in
Yep.
the first Avengers movie. He's definitely
Okay.
in his own TV show, of which I forgot. There are many other Lokis in that, but I can't name the actors' names.
Okay.
And then I think I mean he's been in many other things that I've forgotten about. So I'll stop there.
Okay. So just to recap, you said Thor is his first appearance.
The first Thor, yes.
Okay, and then you said Loki
Uh,
as the TV show.
as a TV show. He was also in the second Thor.
Second Thor. Okay, and that's it.
He's probably in other things, but I won't guess further. He is most
Okay, all right,
likely in
so
other things.
all right, so Beef, you got 7 points. Good job. All right, Francois, would you like to take over from there?
Yes. I'm not going to try to name any of the other actors that played the variants because I actually don't know any of them by name.
Okay. Hold
Uh,
on. I can. What we will do? Can you at least tell me what those variants character names were? So not the actor names, but just the character names. And I will give you one
so
point each.
okay. So the female variant was named Sylvie.
Okay, that's
In
one
that
point.
one.
Go ahead. Yep. Is that it?
Um, I don't want to try for some of the other ones because the only one I remember is the alligator Loki. I don't
Okay,
even
that
know if the
counts.
alligator had a name or
Okay,
not.
so yeah, alligator Loki. So that's a second point. Good job.
Um, I won't try for the other ones, but I will go for other appearances that he's had.
Okay, go ahead.
So he was in Thor Ragnarok.
Yep.
He was in Infinity War,
Yep.
and he was also in Endgame.
Yep. All right.
and I'll
Anything
stop
else?
there.
Okay, so that means you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. Okay, cool. All right, so real quick, you guys missed the Avengers. Nobody said that.
I did say that. I said the original Avengers.
Oh,
I, th- I
the
thought I
original
thought Beef
Avengers.
said Avengers, so I did.
Okay, got it. I missed it. So Beef, you got 8 points. Okay, and that's all the appearances. Good job. The other variants are Sylvie, played by Sophia DiMartino, classic Loki, played by Richard E. Grant, who is also in Star Wars. He's in episode 9, I think. Then you have Kid Loki, played by Jack Veal, and you have Boastful Loki, played by I'm gonna butcher this, Diobia Operai. Um, Maybe that's how you pronounce it. Anyways, so that is Loki. Bonus point. In the movie Thor Ragnarok, Loki is portrayed in a stage show. Which actor plays the theater version of Loki? Buzz in.
I don't know.
No idea. All
I
right.
actually
So
don't know this
do you
either.
guys remember this scene?
Do I remember this
Yes,
scene?
it was in. They were playing like the whole like one of the Thor stories on stage, and I
Yes.
remember it is a famous actor. I just don't remember who
Yeah.
it
So
was.
Loki is played by Matt Damon. And he
That's
actually
who.
reprises that role in Thor Love and Thunder. Um he when they're in like New Asgard, Matt Damon is like asking, "Oh, we need to make like a new theater show," so it's kind of like a callback to the Thor Ragnarok. Okay. All
All right,
right.
let me.
So we are currently Beef 8 and Francois 5. Okay. So apparently being able to name the first MCU appearance makes a big difference. And also the actors. So I feel like Beef, that's where you made your money.
My money.
Okay. Are you guys ready for round 2?
All right, let's
Okay.
go.
Yes.
Round 2. You ready? Have your buzzers ready. The character is Hawkeye. Beef, you buzzed in again. Okay. All right, go for it.
Okay, so, man, I might be wrong about this. I think the first appearance is Avengers.
That is wrong. But I'm not
Oh,
going to deduct a point because he does have an appearance in the Avengers. So that's 1 point. But that
okay.
is incorrect.
That is incorrect. Okay.
Uh so Francois, would you like to steal and only steal the first appearance of Hawkeye?
I actually don't remember his first appearance if it wasn't Avengers,
I know it
so I will
now.
not try to
I
steal.
know it now.
Oh, Beef, go for
I
it. Go for
remember.
it.
It's Thor 1, isn't it?
That's right. Yep, it's
Yeah,
Thor.
he's like watching. He gets assigned by Shield to watch the hammer,
The
right?
hammer.
Okay.
Yep.
Shoot.
Okay, hold on. So bonus, we just discovered a bonus question,
Ooh,
which was not templated. What is the name of the hammer? Oh wait, buzz in. Oh, Beef, you got it first. What's the name of the hammer?
it's Mjolnir.
Mjolnir.
Is that how you
Mew
pronounce
Mew.
it?
Okay. All right. So Beef, you got 5 points. Would you like to guess the name of the actor or other appearances?
Oh my gosh, I know the name of the actor, but I'll guess other appearances. So obviously he's in Hawkeye. I already mentioned
Okay. Yep.
he's in the normal Avengers. He is
Okay.
in Black Widow.
He is not in Black Widow.
Ah,
So that's minus 1 point.
does it pass over to Francois now?
Okay. Sure. Francois?
So, actor name is Jeremy Renner.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yes. Well, Jeremy Reynolds, I think.
No,
Is it
Renner. I
Reynolds
think.
or Renner? Okay, yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
That's
it's
2
Renner.
points. 2 points. Good job. Other
So,
appearances?
other appearances: Age of Ultron,
Yes.
Captain America: Civil War.
Yes.
He's also in Infinity War and Endgame.
No. So he is in Endgame. He's not in Infinity War. So those points cancel out.
Oh, he wasn't in Infinity War.
No, he's not in Infinity War. So remember, after Civil War, he goes into house arrest. That's why
Oh
he
yeah,
doesn't
that's right.
show
He
up
was in
in
house
Infinity War
arrest.
at all. And that's actually the opening scene of Endgame is that he is under house arrest with his kids when his kids disappear. That leads me into the bonus question. Whoa. All right, bonus question. Let me clear the buzzer. You guys ready?
Yeah.
What is Hawkeye's alter ego? Francois.
Ronan.
Ronan. All right, that is 2 points. So at the end of this round, Beef, you got 5 points, and Francois, you have 6. Good job. All right, are you guys ready for round 3?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
the character for round 3 is Thanos. Beef, you're so quick on the buzzer.
I think my
All
internet
right,
might be faster than Francois. That might be why.
His-
and this episode is brought to you by Spectrum. I'm just kidding. We don't have sponsors.
Okay,
but
so
really, if we could, that'd be nice. We need money.
okay, so
Bad.
okay. I have a question. If I
Yes.
name the things that he's in, but I'm not
Yes.
sure if it's the first thing he's in, do I have to specify that's the first thing he's in?
You have to specify it's the first thing. I'll give you 1 point if you name it, but can't specify.
Okay. Well, first of all, I will say he's in What If. But that's not the first thing he's in.
Okay, so I thought about What If. I left that off of every single character.
That
'cause
makes
pretty
sense.
much
Okay,
everyone is in it.
okay.
So,
Let's not do
yeah.
that. Okay, so he's obviously in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame.
Okay. Yep.
Um I think I'll have to stop there. I mean, I think his first appearance is in Infinity War, but I'm not sure about that.
Okay. Francois, would you like to steal Thanos?
yes. So, actor Josh Brolin.
That's true. That's I think we said that's 2 points. Yes, 2 points. Good.
Then first appearance, I believe it was the end credit scene of the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
That is
But I'm not
incorrect.
100%
So
sure.
I will give you 1 point for naming Guardians of the Galaxy, but not for naming the right um, first appearance. Okay, is there anything else you guys would like to go for? All right. So, Beef, you have 2 points, and Francois, you have 3.
It is an end credit
Uh,
scene where he appears first, but I forget which movie.
correct.
It's like in space,
Correct.
right?
Yeah,
But which one is
Yeah,
it?
that's
that's
true.
fine.
Ah, yeah, which one
That's
is it?
true.
I forget.
Actually, I'll give you a hint. You guys are missing 2 post-credit scenes.
He's in a lot of post-credit scenes. Probably
Okay,
Doctor
let me
Strange is
quote.
probably one of them.
No, but I won't deduct a point for that. But no. All right. Do you guys want hints or do you want the answer?
I'll just take the answer.
I'll
All
just
right,
take the
so
answer.
the first appearance is post-credit scene of the Avengers.
Oh, the first Avengers.
So
That's what it was.
in
Yeah,
this
the first
scene,
Avengers.
one of his like assistants or minions tells Thanos that Earth is full of humans and they are not the cowardly, they're not the cowards that they were promised. They, to court or to challenge the Avengers is to court death, something along those lines.
It was this one, right? This one on the.
That is correct. And
Yeah.
actually, that's not even Josh Brolin. So I didn't know
It
that.
wasn't Josh Brolin. Yeah.
Yeah, it was somebody else. And I would have given a point if somebody had said it's not Josh Brolin, it was somebody else. I would have given a point for that if you could be that specific. The actor's name is Damien Portier. I don't know who that is, but good job on playing Thanos. And then the second post-credit scene is Avengers: Age of Ultron. This is where he is seen grabbing the Infinity Glove or the Infinity Gauntlet,
Mm.
and he says, "Fine, I'll do it myself." Okay, bonus question for Thanos. Let me clear the buzzer. You guys ready? All right. The bonus question is: Josh Brolin played Thanos. What other MCU character did this actor play? Francois.
Plays Cable in Deadpool.
That's right. You got 2 points.
I'll
All
just
right,
say
Francois. You have a
I didn't even
you have a
know.
total of 5 points.
I didn't even know it was Josh
And
Brolin who
Beef, you
played.
got 2. All right. So round 4. All right. The character
You want to clear the
is.
buzzer?
Oh yeah, my bad. The character is Tony Stark. All right, Beef, go for it.
All right. Obviously, played by Robert Downey Jr.
Okay,
First appearance, I would say Iron Man 1.
that's right.
Other appearances, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3,
Yes.
the first Avengers,
Okay, hold on.
Wait, okay.
I'm trying to.
This feels a little bit
All right.
unfair because I'm just
Okay,
gonna
no,
name.
hey, that's fine.
Okay.
It is what it is. You
Okay.
busted
That's fine.
first. All
So
right.
That's what it is.
so first
You bu-
Avengers,
Okay.
Avengers
Yep.
Infinity War, Avengers Endgame,
Okay. Okay.
uh, Avengers Civil War, or Captain America Civil
Uh,
War.
okay. Yep.
He's in the first Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland.
Okay, that counts.
He is in. Oh my God. Okay, I'll just stop here. I'm sure he's in a lot of other things. I'll hand it to Francois.
Okay, so let me just make sure I got all your points here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plus 3 is 10. So you got 12 points. Francois, would you like to pick up the slack? He is missing
Sure.
2 movies. That's a hint, but that's fair.
Um, the Incredible Hulk, the post-credit scene.
That
Does that count?
that's right. Okay, good. And what's the other movie?
Um, Crap.
Maybe think
I can't.
about how
I don't
many
actually.
Avengers did he
Yeah,
list?
I know what.
I actually did not. I just assumed that he listed all of the Avengers movies.
He did not.
I did not. I
So
missed
But
one.
take a second to think about which Avengers movie he's missing.
Age of Ultron.
Well, how did you know? All right, you guys ready for the bonus question? All right,
Yes.
so to make this fair, I'm gonna give it to Francois first.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So bonus question: can you name as many AIs as possible that Tony Stark made?
Uh, Jarvis and
Okay, that's
Friday
one.
are the ones that I remember.
That's two. Is that it?
Yeah, I think those are the only ones that I have 100%
Okay.
confidence
Are
in their names.
you perhaps feeling like you should complain to a manager really rudely? You know?
Karen.
How wow, yeah, that's exactly the AI.
Wow.
Okay. All right. Now, if I gave you another hint, then it would be almost dead to me. But I feel like if I did give you a hint, even though I'd be dead to you, I'd be a hero. Does that uh do you want to take a stab at that before you pass it off to Beef?
I'll pass it off to Beef for that one.
All right, Beef.
I'm really confused by your hint there. But I'll be honest, I would have only thought of Friday and Jarvis as well. Something in my
Okay, well,
mind,
here's
I'm just like, something in my mind is like, it was Monday also one, but it might be totally off.
no, not Monday.
Okay.
Although you did mention the movie that this AI is revealed in. It was one of the movies you named.
I named a
I
lot of movies, but
Well, yeah, but this one might stick to you, if you thought about it.
mm, Glue? What are you talking
All
about?
right, you guys give up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so the AI is even dead. I am the hero, as portrayed in Spider-Man Far From Home,
Is
and
that
that
the
is
whole?
Edith.
That's the whole name of it?
That's the whole name
Yeah,
of the.
Edith. Edith.
Oh,
Even dead,
it's
I
Oh,
am the
Edith.
hero.
That's right.
oh.
No, Edith. Edith. All right, so Francois, you got 3 points for the bonus round. So T2, or I'm sorry, Beef, on that round you got 12 points, and
Woo,
Francois,
T2.
you got 7. All right. So I feel like this keeps going back and forth between the two of you. All right. Next character. And this one's going to be interesting because there's a lot of answers. All right. You guys ready?
I feel like Tony Stark would have had a lot of answers, but
No. Well, Tony Stark would have had, well,
I
actually,
guess
no, not that many because there's only one actor.
who has the most appearances? Yeah.
Well, I think you're going to find out. You ready? Captain America. All right. Beef.
All right.
You buzzed in first.
Actor is Chris Evans.
Okay. So that's 2 points.
First appearance is probably in the first Captain America.
Okay. Good. So that's 3 points.
He's also in Captain America Winter Soldier. He's also in, I believe, all the Avengers movies, I would guess. Avengers 1, Avengers Age of Ultron, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, hopefully I was correct. He's also in Civil War.
Okay, hold on, because I forgot on my list to include Infinity War. So, All right. What was the other one? Civil War, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
He's also in the latest Captain America movie because technically, even though it's not Chris Evans anymore, it is Falcon becoming Captain America. So technically, I think that works.
Yes.
And
Yes, it
then
does.
whether or not I remember that actor's name, who you just said before, it's slipping my mind now.
Hmm.
um, and then he is also in. He's also in. Isn't he in Thor? The wait, no, never mind.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep. Actually, yes, that's true.
and then I think I'll
Um,
pass it to Francois there.
okay. All right. So let me just count that up real quick. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points just off of that. All right. Francois, he left a lot of meat on that sandwich. You want to take a bite?
Yeah. So the other actor is Anthony Mackie for Sam
Okay,
Wilson,
that's good. Now there's
and
one more actor
another.
if you want to try to take a stab at that.
I don't quite remember the name of that one. So,
Okay, but
oh,
can you tell me who that character is when he's not Captain America?
Oh,
I mean, even if you don't know the actor's name, I'll give you a point if you could at least tell me like who that character is, before or after Captain America.
is it John Walker?
Yes, yes, that is true. So I'll give you 2 points for that. Good. All right. What other appearances has Captain America had? And if you repeat anything, that's okay. I just won't give you a point for it.
Okay. Um, One that I know is not a repetition is I don't think he mentioned Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which
He
end
did
title
not. So
was Captain
that's
America and the Soldier.
yep. So that's a point. Good job. What else? Anything else?
No, that's the only thing I can think of. I think
Okay.
as far
All
as
right. All right. Do you guys want the rest of the answers?
how many more are there? I'm curious.
All right. So there's a
I'm
post-credit
curious.
scene
Yeah.
in Ant-Man. Okay. There's also remember the high school
Oh my
actually
God.
in
The
Spider-Man Homecoming, the gym teacher
yeah
shows
the
Captain America on the TV. So there's
uh,
that one. There's also the mid-credit scene for Captain Marvel where they're like in the Avengers complex and they're seeing the little beeper. And then also, and this is I feel like this should have been like 5 points. He's also in Hawkeye.
what
So
did he?
remember, Hawkeye goes to a Broadway show, and Captain America is featured in the musical.
Was it
the
actually
As a matter of
Chris
Broadway
fact,
Evans?
musical counts.
yeah, it's Captain America. It doesn't
Ah,
matter who plays him.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah.
wait,
All right. So
wouldn't that mean that everyone in that musical, which was like all the all the Avengers, are also
that
considered to be in
that's
there?
true. So Iron Man should have been listed there as well, and
Everyone's in
so
Hawkeye.
should have yeah, and Hawkeye. Yeah. Okay. All right. Bonus question. So actually, there's actually 2 bonus questions for this one. All right. Let me clear the buzzer. All right. In the show What If, Steve Rogers did not become Captain America. Who did? Francois.
Peggy Carter did.
And what did she become? Because it wasn't Captain America.
She became Captain Carter, the
That's right.
British
All right.
Shield.
Good job. All right. Second question. All right. In the show What If, Steve Rogers did not turn into Captain America, but he did turn into a superhero. What was his superhero name? Anybody?
It's been like 3.5 years since I've watched What If. I loved it, by the way, but
It's been too
It's been
long.
83 years.
yeah,
So
You guys give up?
Captain Carter's so prominent. Yeah, I do.
yeah.
All right. He became Hydra Stomper.
Oh, okay. I would not have guessed
All
Oh,
right.
that.
that's who.
So at the end of this, Beef, you got 13 points, and Francois, you got 7.
So is
So,
Captain America then like he's had the most appearances across the
well,
media?
when you I think when you do it the way that I'm doing it, which is not just one actor, but just the character, I think probably Captain America.
Actor wise,
Because
who do you think it is?
Iron Man is in a lot of movies, but Captain America is in a lot of like post-credit scenes and mid-credit scenes. I think that's why Captain America wins. Otherwise, it's kind of neck and neck. All right. I'm gonna give you guys a really tough one, but I'm gonna give it to Francois first. Okay. So the character is Miss Marvel. Can you give me the actor's name? That's a really tough one. Even I don't know it.
I think it was
Okay.
like Imran, but I don't remember her last name.
What was it?
I can't remember. It starts with an I. It was like Imran something, but I don't
You're
remember.
pretty close. It's Iman Vellani or Vellani, I think. Yeah, Iman. So you pretty
That's what it
close.
was.
I won't give it to you, but it's a pretty good start. All right, what was her first appearance?
Was it actually the show Miss Marvel?
Is
That's
that
what
a
my
question or an
guess would be.
answer?
This is Jeopardy, Jorge.
I'm gonna guess Miss Marvel. I'm gonna
Yeah,
guess Miss
Miss
Marvel.
Marvel. So that's 3 points. What was her other MCU appearance?
And her other MCU appearance would be the Marvels.
All right, that's it. Well, Francois swept the board on that one, but I'm gonna open this up back to the buzzer. You guys ready? This is the bonus question.
Mhm.
Miss Marvel tries to recruit young Avengers. Who does she recruit?
I think this is a good time for me to admit I did not watch Miss Marvel.
Oh, I personally liked it. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was a good show.
Mm.
Um,
I will also personally admit I did not have Disney Plus, so I did not watch Miss Marvel. I just know Kamala Khan as a character.
all
Just
right, so I'll give you guys the answer. So Miss Marvel tries to recruit Kate Bishop, which is the new Hawkeye,
Mhm.
and she mentions Ant-Man's daughter, whose name is Cassie Lang. So that was the bonus question.
Mm.
All right, let's go back to phase one. You guys ready?
Ooh, phase one.
Phase one. You ready? The character name is Odin. Beef. Take it away.
I don't know the actor, but I believe first appearance would be Thor 1.
Okay. Yep. That's 3 points.
I mean, if you said the
Beef.
name,
Or I'm sorry.
I would know, but
Yeah. Francois, take it from there.
the actor's name is also escaping me right now, unfortunately, which is unfortunate because I know he's really well
He's
known.
such a great actor.
He is a great actor. I just it's escaping me.
yeah.
As
He
far as
has
other
star power
appearances,
before joining the MCU.
Mhm.
So,
he
all
did.
right. So what are the other appearances?
Thor Ragnarok, he was in there as he
Okay.
was dying. I
I feel like
believe
you're
Thor:
missing
The
a
Dark
really big
World
one.
as well.
Yep. Yep. That's it. So yeah, that's all of his appearances. Okay. The actor's name is Sir Anthony Hopkins. The bonus question has nothing to do with Marvel. Can you name any movies that Anthony Hopkins has appeared in? You guys can just shout them out. Or TV shows, by the way.
I'm definitely drawing blanks here.
Okay. Beef, you want to give it a shot?
Was he in Game of Thrones?
He was not.
Okay.
But maybe, yeah.
That was
Okay, here's the hint.
statistical
Here's a hint for the
guess.
both of you. You guys ready? Here's the hint. Quid pro quo, Clarice.
That's that horror movie where with the right? Oh, what's the name?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember the
Hannibal
name is.
Hannibal Lecter.
Oh, okay.
That's not the name of the movie, so you can still name the movie.
Wait, what? Oh my
That's
god.
okay. All right.
Escape.
We'll go on to our final round. Okay.
Wait, what else is
So
he in?
by the way, Anthony Hopkins was in the Westworld TV show.
Uh,
He is in Silence of the
Uh,
Lambs as Hannibal Lecter. There's also a really good like exorcism movie called The Rite. It's a really good like horror movie. All right, final round. You ready?
mhm.
and I haven't really kept track of the points in total, so I don't know who's leading and who's not. So this is just going to be a
Pretty sure Beef is
fair
leading.
final round. All right. The last character, also from Phase 1, is the Hulk. Ooh, that you guys buzzed in quick. Francois. Oh, all right, Francois. You buzzed in first.
So I know there are two actors, but I don't remember. I forgot the name of the dude who played the original one. But the current
Okay.
actor is Mark Ruffalo.
Yep. So that's 2 points. Good.
First appearance would be the Incredible Hulk.
Yes, that's 3 points. Do you want to give Beef a
his
try? Or do you
first-
want to keep going?
I'll keep going for a bit.
There
So
you
I
go.
know he's in
Go for the
Avengers.
kill. Good. All right.
He's in Age of Ultron.
Yep.
He's in Infinity War.
Yep.
He's in Endgame. He's also in Thor Ragnarok.
Okay. Good.
He's also in the end credits. Well, Bruce Banner is in the end credits of Shang-Chi.
Yes, I will count that. Okay.
He is in She-Hulk.
Yes.
And I'll pass it off to Beef with that.
Okay, so real quick, so that gives you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points just off of that. Okay, Beef, take it away.
He's in the play in Hawkeye.
All right, I will give you a point for that.
I don't remember all the things that Francois said, so I don't know what else he would be in.
Okay, he's in a post-credit scene in yeah, I mean I don't know how yeah, I can't. I don't know I can give you any hints for
Oh,
this
wait.
one.
Well,
There's a
okay.
couple post-credit scenes that you guys are missing. There's actually 2 post-credit scenes you guys are missing. One of the post-credit scenes was very therapeutic, if that brings any memories to mind.
Not exactly, no.
All right, so in Iron Man 3, Iron Man deals with like trauma, and at the post-credit scene is him like having a therapy session with Bruce Banner, but Bruce Banner's falling asleep because he's not a therapist. So that's a funny post-credit scene. All right, and there's also a Avengers related, or no, an Endgame related post-credit scene that you guys are missing. It's quite the marvelous post-credit scene.
Oh,
So
Captain
Captain
Marvel.
Oh, he was
Yep.
Captain
Yeah.
Marvel.
All right, so the original actor, Beef, do you want to give that a try before?
Oh god. Wait, so was Mark Ruffalo not the actor in the 2008 release? Because if you're talking original
No.
actor, technically you
he
said
was not.
Iron Man 1 and forward. So is the first Incredible
The
Hulk?
Incredible Hulk is after Iron Man 1.
Oh, so
I think they were released in the same year, but yeah.
the 2008 release of Incredible Hulk was not Mark Ruffalo?
Yep.
Okay, I do not remember.
It was not. But it is MCU proper, so it does count as MCU.
Yeah, I do not remember.
So who's the actor for that one? So the actor is Edward Norton.
Oh, okay.
All right, so bonus. They actually have 2 bonus questions on this one. What other actors have played the character Hulk even outside of the MCU? And there's one in particular that's like super famous.
Playing the Hulk outside of the MCU.
Yeah, there's actually 2 answers that I'm thinking of. One was a TV series and one was a 2003 movie.
Do not recall the 2003 movie.
Okay.
Who else has played the? Huh. Do not know.
I do not know the names of the other 2 actors that played him.
So the original TV series, The Hulk, was played by Lou Ferrigno. So he's like kind of like a wrestling star.
Is it this one right here?
Yes. Yep. That's Lou Ferrigno.
Okay.
All right, and then the 2003 movie, which is not MCU canon, the Hulk was played by Eric Bana.
Okay.
All right, second bonus question, and this is the last question of the game. In the series She-Hulk, Hulk reveals to have a son. What is the son's name?
This is
Is it
where
a bad time to admit that I also didn't watch She-Hulk?
I also did not watch She-Hulk.
I, that's probably a skippable one. I enjoyed it, but it's not the best series ever. So I don't
Mm.
blame you guys. So, anyways, he is revealed to have a son, and his name is Scar. But this highlights the whole point about it being homework and not cinema. How do they give you a huge like story change? Like, oh, Hulk has a son in a TV show. This is where I think Marvel really needs to figure out its priorities of where it develops or introduces new storylines, movies versus TV shows, and it really needs to think about the way it does it.
Wait, who's the mom?
Um, well, that's not revealed. We don't know.
Ah.
All right, so let me go ahead and add up the points real quick. You guys talk amongst yourselves.
Hey, Francois, how's it going?
Pretty good.
How's your day?
It's a rainy day here today.
I think
It's been storming outside.
we've revealed to Jorge that there are a lot of gaps in our Marvel knowledge.
Yep.
I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of questions that I would not have been able to answer completely either.
Mm.
You know, so like for instance, I don't remember Eric Bana being the first Hulk, but I would have remembered Lou Ferrigno. Um, all right, so the points have been tabulated, and it's actually a really close game. It was only a difference of 4 points, believe it or
Ooh.
not, and it is 48-44, and the winner is our very own special guest Francois. Good job.
Wow.
So tell us, what are you gonna do now that you've achieved one of the most one of the biggest achievements in the world? Like what do you do now? You know?
I guess it's time to go back and do some homework because clearly there's a bunch of stuff that I just forgot or just crossed my mind.
It is homework.
Well, I had a really good time talking about this sort of stuff because I learned that there's apparently some universes that I need to get familiar with. Like I've dabbled in Avatar, but haven't really seen like all the other stuff. I don't know any of those animes, but if there's something that you could recommend, like I'd love to kind of explore something new. Um, Francois, any closing thoughts?
No, I think this was a really good discussion. It's always really fun to think about. Like, we've been engrossed in a lot of these movies and franchises and series since for a long time now. So, thinking about ways that we introduce them to our loved ones, to our friends, to people we meet, it's always a really good discussion because it just makes us think about things that have impacted us, things that we believe can appeal to other people, and all that other things. So, it's just always a great discussion.
Yep, I agree. Beef, any closing thoughts?
No, thanks for coming on the show, Francois. It was a good discussion. I'm sure if we kept going, we could probably talk for hours about this and go through many other franchises that we didn't even mention because there's just so much out there. But again, a very enjoyable show, and yeah, that's all from me.
All right, final question. Speed round. Favorite cinematic universe of all time? Beef, go. Like if you can only watch one for the rest of the time, which one are you watching?
Oh my god. I feel like it's such a cop out answer to say like Marvel or something because there's just so much content, right?
Okay, fair
But
enough. Francois?
realistically, probably Avatar for me.
Oh, okay, Avatar. Okay, cool. All right, and Francois,
The
I'll give you
Not
an
the blue people
opportunity to
one.
give a cliche one and then also an alternate one.
All right. Honestly, I think the really cliche one really would be Marvel because despite some of the shortcomings that they've had in recent years, I just think that they've created a lot of really enjoyable movies. And as far as like a cinematic universe goes, they have both quantity and quality when it comes to a lot of their movies. Like even the ones that people don't like now, I found a lot to like in some of the more recent films as well. Maybe not as much as the originals, but I just think that they have that kind of consistency right there.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
Outside of that, if we're gonna go totally off genre, I think out of the horror movie genre, horror movie franchises, I think Scream probably takes it for me. I think Scream is probably the most consistent
Good.
out of like
Yeah.
all the franchises because every horror series kind of has like one stinker movie or they have a period where it's kind of eh. But I feel
Yeah.
like through the six Scream movies, they've all been pretty consistent in their tone and what they delivered. So I think those are Probably one to consider for a lot of people looking for like a thriller.
Okay. Yeah, that's a really good answer. I don't think it's a cop out answer. I'm definitely saying Marvel. It's definitely the cinematic universe that I've rewatched the most. Maybe Star Wars. I've watched as much of that, but Star Wars also existed since before I was born, so I had more time to watch it and watch it over again. Plus, you have like the theme parks that included Star Wars. What I personally like about Marvel is there's a lot of heartfelt character moments. So I really like Captain America: Civil War, where you have like the political struggle of what is right, what's wrong, how to protect the weak. So I really like that, and there's a lot of movies like that within the Marvel universe. But putting that one aside, I think if I couldn't pick that one, I think the Conjuring cinematic universe is really good. I love that they have kind of like the Conjuring as like the baseline story, but then they do different side characters and they kind of world build off of that. I think The Conjuring is one of my favorite horror movies, and that series of movies I think does really well.
Oh wait, how many movies are
Like
in that the Conjuring universe?
I'd have to look it up. Let me Google it real quick. But off the top of my head, Conjuring movie universe. Off the top of my head, you have The Conjuring. They have several of those. Then you have Annabelle, La Llorona, The Nun, and I don't know if I'm missing anything. All right, so you have one, two, three, four Conjuring movies.
The fourth one
Then
coming
you
out
have
this year.
Right. So that's four. Then you have one, two, three Annabelle movies. So that's seven.
Mm.
Then you have one, two Nun movies. So that's nine. And then you have La Llorona. So that's 10. So there's 10 total movies in this universe. But again, like the reason I see it as a universe is because they're not all necessarily in a straight line chronologically. They have side stories that kind of tie into the main universe. So, yeah, cool. Well, I got nothing else, you guys. I had a really good time. Francois, thanks for joining us. It was really great catching up with you. Beef, always a pleasure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks,
thanks for
Francois.
having me, guys. It's a lot of fun.
All right, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Hit like and
Right.
subscribe.